All right, let's talk about a massive challenge. How do you completely rebuild an entire organization's cybersecurity policy from the ground up? And how do you do it at lightning speed? Today, we're diving into a real-world blueprint that does exactly that in just 6 weeks.
So, yeah, that's the big question, right? How on earth do you build a complete cyber defense in just 42 days? Now, if you've ever been anywhere near corporate policy, you know a 6-week timeline sounds, well, it sounds kind of impossible. But this plan shows it can absolutely be done.
So here's what we're going to do. We're breaking down an actual project plan, one that was used successfully for a major industrial company. The whole idea is to take this huge, intimidating project and turn it into a clear, step-by-step plan that pretty much any organization can learn from.
Okay, first up, Section 1, Building a Cyber Fortress. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of how this works, we really need to get the why. You know, what's the big picture thinking that makes a plan this intense, this fast, so necessary in the first place?
You see, companies today, especially in critical sectors, are getting hit with a double whammy. On one side, you have cyber threats that are getting smarter and more dangerous every single day. And on the other, you've got this incredibly complex web of compliance. It's not enough to just be secure anymore. You have to prove it to a whole alphabet soup of regulators.
And this is the journey. This is our map. It is an intense 6-week sprint. You kick off with planning, dive straight into assessment, then comes the heavy lifting of design and drafting, and you finish strong with validation and the final roadmap. 6 weeks, from zero to a full action plan. Let's get into it.
All right, Section 2 is all about laying the groundwork. This covers those first 2 phases, planning and assessment, and they are absolutely critical. I mean, it's simple, right? You can't build a fortress if you don't even know the lay of the land.
Think of these first weeks as a full-on diagnostic for the company's cyber health. It all starts with a big kickoff meeting to get everybody on the same page. Then it's deep dive information gathering, mapping out everything. But the key part? It's the interviews with the people who actually do the work. All that info gets fed into the gap assessment, which is where you find out exactly where you are versus where you need to be.
And this phase isn't just talk, it creates some super important documents. You get the official project charter, a stakeholder map so everyone knows their role, and a detailed schedule. But the crown jewel of this whole phase is that gap assessment report. This one document, this is the foundation for everything else. It's the diagnosis that tells you exactly what needs to be fixed.
All right, Section 3, Drafting the Digital Rulebook. The diagnosis is in, now it's time to write the prescription. We're moving from just analyzing the problems to actually creating the solutions, designing the framework, and writing all the policies.
Now, before you write a single rule, you need a place for it to live. That's the job of the Cybersecurity Governance Framework. The best way to think about it is, it's like the constitution for your security program. It's the master blueprint that gives everything a structure, a purpose, and a home.
And just to give you an idea of the sheer scale we're talking about here, in the project this is based on, the team drafted over 20 new policies and procedures. We're not talking about a few small tweaks. This is a complete rewrite of the company's entire digital rulebook from scratch.
So what do these policies actually look like? Well, take the access control policy. Put simply, this is all about managing the keys to the digital kingdom. But here's the real insight. This isn't just about keeping the bad guys out. It's also about making sure your own people only have access to exactly what they need to do their jobs and nothing more. That's a huge defense against insider threats.
Here's another big one, the Incident Management Policy. What do you do when the worst actually happens? This is your emergency plan. A great policy here assumes an attack will happen. The goal isn't just prevention. It's about minimizing the damage and getting back online fast when you get hit. You do not want to be figuring this stuff out in the middle of a crisis.
And oh, this one is so important because it's a blind spot for so many companies. Third-party security. Your cyber fortress is only as strong as its weakest link, right? Well, a lot of the time, that weak link is one of your vendors or partners. This policy makes sure everyone in your supply chain is held to the exact same security standards you hold for yourself.
Okay, on to Section 4. We've got our draft policies written. Now it's time to go from plan to practice. These are the last 2 phases of the sprint, validation and implementation. This is where all that theory meets the hard reality of a normal workday.
And this next step is absolutely crucial: validation. See, you can't just write these policies in some conference room and expect them to work. This blueprint forces you to run workshops with the people on the front lines, the IT teams, the network admins, even the workers on the factory floor.
You have to pressure test every policy to make sure it's actually practical. If you skip this, your policies just become expensive shelfware.
Let's just pause here for a second because this table really tells the whole story of the 6-week journey. Look at the pacing. A few days for planning, an intense 2-week drafting sprint in the middle, and just 2 days at the end to build the final roadmap. It's tight, it's efficient, and every single day has a purpose.
And here's the final mic drop. The 6-week project doesn't just end with a binder full of documents. The real final deliverable is a detailed 12-month implementation roadmap. It tells the organization exactly what to do next, who's in charge of doing it, and how to measure success. It turns the blueprint into a real construction plan for the next year.
Which brings us to our final section, your cybersecurity blueprint. Let's boil all of this down to the key takeaways that you can actually use, starting today in your own organization.
So why does a crazy 6-week sprint like this actually work so well? Well, first, it's practical and actionable, designed for the real world. It's built from day one to be 100% compliance ready. It's incredibly comprehensive, covering the whole shebang from high-level policies down to specific KPIs. And of course, the big one, it's just insanely efficient. A full governance system in just 6 weeks.
And this quote right here, this really gets to the heart of the whole thing. The goal is not just to write documents, but to build a practical and complete system for governance and compliance. It's a total mindset shift. You're not just creating paper policies, you're building a living, breathing system that actively protects the organization every day.
So we'll leave you with this question to think about. Every company's digital fortress needs a blueprint. After seeing just how fast and practical a plan can be, what's the very first line you're going to draw for your own?